What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Erica from the Classy Climb blog. I know you guys have been waiting. You're like, Erica, bring us some California people. I have. And I'm going to come back out there, I promise. But I had to bring some of the best to tell us what's going on the ground, right? Like, show me what's going on. So I got Miss Badger herself coming with the best knowledge out of California. Listen, this woman's so busy, I had to grab a little bit of her time. But I'll let her introduce herself to the audience today.
Hey, everybody. My name is Shawneequa Badger. Welcome to the California edition of our discussion today. I'm happy to be here. As you can tell, we are frantic with real estate on the West Coast, as everybody else is, because as you can tell, I'm literally in a hat and sweats today. I'm just trying to grind it out. But I'm the team lead of the Badger Real Estate Group. I own a full service real estate team in the other city by the Bay, the city of Oakland. Mm-hmm. We've been in Oakland for about 3.5 years now. I've been selling real estate. This is my 17th year. Ooh. And I'm originally from San Jose, but my business is located in the city of Oakland. And we cover anywhere from the South Bay, which is Santa Clara County, which most of you just know as Silicon Valley, mm-hmm. and all the way up through to Stockton, which is where we're seeing a huge migration of people move to because of the lack of affordability in the Bay Area. So I'm happy and excited to be able to have a in-depth conversation with all of you about all things real estate in California.
All right, you guys, thank you. Drop your city and state in, drop the likes. We got some people from San Diego in here, Wonder Valley, California, Sunnyvale, California. I see those people a lot in the chat and in the behind the scenes.
Hey, Sunnyvale.
We got Victoriaville, California. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this, Lisa. Can you say that for me? How do I say that? Can you see on the screen?
I can't see. Oh, Hesperia. Oh, there they go.
Hesperia. Okay. Sacramento, California in here. A lot of y'all. I see y'all. Just drop your city and state and hit the like button. Help me fight Skynet. You know the deal. Someone said high desert area.
High desert. That's is that down south.
Okay, that's down south. Okay. So explain to us what's happening, right? Because we see people flooding out here. Now, I do have friends who actually moved out there a couple years ago because of the film industry. Now, I don't know what's going on as much as you guys are open, but I've seen a lot of YouTubers leave because of costs. But I also see you guys are like selling houses $100,000 over value. Mm-hmm. So what's kind of happening over there?
Well, we've always been a very robust economy. Let's start by saying that. So if you look at the state of California, I think it was last year, the year before last, we moved from the number 6 biggest economy in the world to number 5. Mm-hmm. So we ain't doing too shabby in terms of economically. When you look at the economics of the money that is generated in the state of California, and then when you start looking at the Bay Area is the number 2 economy in the country. I would not be surprised if we're number 1 because of COVID. The state of New York took quite a hit with having to close down because of COVID. But what I can say is we've always had a very robust real estate economy. Again, I've been selling real estate for 17 years. I've sold foreclosures for the banks when we had our foreclosure crisis. And San Jose, which is a part of the Bay Area, was the first market to recover in all of the country. And even when we were selling foreclosures, I think the least expensive foreclosure I ever sold in the city of San Jose was $300,000. And some people were like, we were selling foreclosures for like 5 and 10.
Girl, we're selling for $25,000 in North Carolina.
Yeah. So, again, we weren't doing horrible. There were still people who were making $70,000 at minimum and during the foreclosure crisis. And so we have to kind of look at, everybody operates in a bubble. And so these conversations are really good because we can kind of tell you what our bubble is doing in real life. And then you can understand how our bubble is affecting your bubble when people try to break out of our bubble, right?
Right.
Because we've been seeing a huge migration of people because of the opportunities that other markets present. One thing I will say is, again, we do have a very robust real estate market. That has always been the case. Even when we deem that things are a little bit slow, they're not as slow as the other markets. And we've always historically appreciated more than most other markets. So COVID hits, we're, off
Y'all
doing
are
our own
severely
thing.
locked down.
And March 19th came, and I remember being about to leave my house to go service some of my clients. And I have multi-unit business. About 30% of my business is multi-units. I have, renovations that I'm working with for my clients. My business is from contract to close, which means I'll go and I'll help my clients get their home ready with paintbrush and contractors to get the renovation ready. And, so I have all this stuff going on. They're like, yeah, stay at home. Stay at home. And we're like, what does that mean? We envision, there being tanks rolling down the highway, and it being I-Legend downtown Oakland. And so we were really concerned about, hey, Tiffany, how you doing? And we were really concerned about what the state of not only real estate was going to be, but the state of our communities that we serve. We have to look at it from a very different lens. This is not just about the capitalism of real estate stopping. There's people that are involved in this, and we have to make sure that there's the well-being of people and their interest in the properties that we're getting ready for market, or the interest in the properties that people who have tenants in. We have to keep our clients up to speed about what's happening, and how their assets are being affected in all of this movement, and policy that is coming down the pipeline. So again, COVID hits. Like, even as real estate agents had to sit in the house. And I can tell you, the first day, maybe the first 3 days of COVID, the shutdown, I literally, I'm in my office now, but I literally drug my desk into my room because I did not want to get comfortable in being at home. I didn't want to feel like going to work wasn't an option for me. So I literally drug my desk into my room so that I could literally roll out the bed and then hit my desk without a problem. There was going to be no excuses for me. And so a month later, we were reclassified as essential, and I was literally hit the ground running. And I was showing properties day one of the reclassification. So what we saw was something that we didn't know what we were going to see. We thought that, people were going to kind of, move into the real estate space cautiously. Nah. And I'm an analytical person, so numbers tell me a story. So I have been monitoring the numbers on the back end of all of my social media, all of my lead generation, all of my websites, and I saw an uptick in the numbers. But the uptick in the numbers never prepared us for what was actually going to happen in the market, which was a frenzy, because the interest rates had gotten so low. People had been shopping and preparing themselves while they were in shelter in place to be financially ready for buying a home. So the first offer I put in on...
Real quick, I was going to say, is it people were prepared, or people were like, I'm going crazy in my apartment, I have to buy a home now?
There was a little bit of both of that. Again, I don't think people at that time understood the length of their remote working at that time. Kids were still being put in school. So kids were still in school. They had not pulled them out of school yet. And so we still had a little bit of gray area. Like my daughter was still in school for a while.
Mm-hmm.
After, even though that they said that we were in, Armageddon.
It's okay. Get on the bus. Get on the school bus.
Yeah. They let the kids still go to school for a while. So it was like a little bit of a gray area, but what I found is everybody got armed with the pre-approval. So the first property that I put an offer in was a condo in Berkeley, and there was 27 other offers, and I was like, holy shit. Wait a minute. I'm supposed to be the only one out here looking at real estate. What are you guys doing out here looking at real estate? It's just supposed to be me and my client. And then
when did y'all lock down? Did y'all lock down in March? Or y'all officially second level lockdown in April, May?
We were locked down in March.
Okay.
Like literally nobody on the streets. It was very strange. Nobody on the streets.
You guys are outdoor state.
Yeah.
Like Texas. We go outside.
Yeah, we like sun. We liked the sunshine, but it was just so eerie and weird. Luckily I was one of those people that kind of just got out there and went and got us food. And, I was mad. I couldn't get an upright freezer. I got one now. They were going to get the drop on me again. But, I got out there and got the essentials. So we were able to hunker down without a problem. But yeah, it was very strange to see the amount of people kind of respond to us being reclassified as essential. In literally people getting out and starting to look at properties. I think what ended up happening is there was a huge shift of people going out, and then people went, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? You're buying a house. And they just followed the leader. It created a panic to go and buy. Some people, they were inspired by having to be in the house. Like, I'm in a 600 square foot apartment. What can I afford now that I can work remote?
What inspires you more if you think about it? It's like, if you're out and about and you want to be out and about in a city, you want to be downtown for sure. But when you realize I got to be in here with a dog and a cat and a husband and a kids and the noise, like, give me a backyard even if it's this big. People,
I need sprawl.
Like, everything I saw in Facebook groups are like, I will buy a house tomorrow. I don't care what it looked like. I'll do DIY projects. I got to get out of here.
Yeah, so you have people also like roommates. We had a big roommate culture out here. You have roommates that are like, holy hell, I got to get from underneath my roommate, because now they may have cooties. So, then you had that, right? And so there was a whole bunch of dynamics that inspired people to kind of move. So I was very shocked, as many of my peers were very shocked at the response of people to the market. It is still dumbfounding. This is probably a year later, the most unique real estate market that any of us have ever seen. And I can honestly tell you that most agents hate this market.
Oh, we got friends in Texas who are quitting.
Yeah.
They're like, they're pretty much like, this doesn't make any sense. We got people from California. They've never seen the house. There's 20 offers on the house by 9:00. That's, and my argument is, if you've been living in Texas
I don't want
for 20 years, come on.
Yeah, I don't want people to think that just because we have the potential to make a ton of money and our sellers to make a ton of money, that this is an ideal market. It absolutely is not. There's no balance to it. We like markets where buyers can participate in the market just as well as sellers. So let me just kind of talk to you about what this has done to our inventory. Our inventory has always been tight, but when people have been allowed to refinance and take out money and just kind of fix up their own house, we ain't going nowhere. And the cost of building has gone up. We've all heard about lumber going up, and the steel going up. And then you have just the demand. We have just more buyers than we have homes. Right now we have more agents that are licensed than we have houses in all of the United States. I have to tell you that it's just a tough environment, because the national average for inventory is a month.
Right.
We in the Bay Area have a week and a half or 2 weeks worth of inventory.
Are people moving up to the Bay? Are they moving down from other places? Or is it like from the inner part of the Bay to somewhere further out? What is the kind of like trajectory of the movement?
People are moving out of San Francisco. They were moving out of San Francisco. So we saw a lot of San Francisco money. We saw a lot of Peninsula money moving into different parts of the East Bay. We saw people from the East Bay moving into San Joaquin County, which is what we call Central Valley. And then it was just interesting migration patterns. I wish that I'm sure that there's some analytical nerd
map coming
somewhere that is figuring out the migration patterns of people. And then there's the people that were like, hey, we can work remote. Let's take our money to North Carolina and Texas and to
Nevada,
Atlanta,
Idaho.
And
Arizona.
Every market I'm having to say, I'm sorry. California, my real estate friends are like, all this California money is coming over here and messing it up for everybody. And I'm like, I'm sorry.
Well, I think it's a preparation talk too. I think people just, again, same thing when I'm here in Texas and people are like, oh, y'all, this house should be $80,000. I'm not paying that much for it. And then now a year later, oh, I better here and buy something. I'm like, the mindset of like, well, this used to be it's reactive instead of proactive. And that will get you every single time.
Yeah.
Even I've heard like people in the comments are saying Inland Empire. I've heard a lot of these places, which is hilarious. Like I had friends move to Inland Empire, get a job offer, a year later sell their house for profit, go up to not Oregon, what's the state above that? Washington. And they're like, yeah, we're not going back to California. This is good. We're good right here. Yeah. Right? We got our money, we made it stretch, all that good stuff. So
yeah. It's a very interesting time. I have to tell you, it is. I've never seen a market like this. Most of us haven't. I will say that it's great because the money to borrow money is very cheap right now. So I'm not complaining about that. But I do see, and if I could talk about the way people are doing bids these days and the offer atmosphere that we're seeing, most of the offers that we're seeing are non-contingent. So there's a lot of risk for buyers. We have buyers that are putting in offers sight unseen. Because guess what? Now we have to make appointments to see these properties. And if a listing agent isn't answering their phone or if they don't have a site to schedule, we may not be able to see a property. So buyers are like, F it, I'm just going to do sight unseen. And so we're seeing pricing just be through the roof. Like there's really no rhyme or reason on what the pricing is going to land at. What was offered versus what's actually closed are two different things, with negotiations. It is a very interesting time. So, if you're going in non-contingent, you don't have any opportunity to perform any due diligence. Most of these properties, I will say, have inspections done up front. However, you still don't have any opportunity to perform any due diligence. You sign away your contingencies. You might as well just say, I'm risking it all.
Or they turn around and sell the house again.
But you're looking at a inflated market. You're looking at a market that is hyperinflated. And then you're looking at a market where you have no contingencies. So you're going to be forced to stay in that home or hold on to it for much longer if, in fact, there is a market shift. So where we're seeing people typically moving between 3 and 5 years, you may start seeing people move between 7 and 10 years because they've overpaid so much. I have a house in an area called Antioch. Many people on your live probably know where Antioch is, but it's in a great place where they've expanded the BART. People can get to San Francisco and the East Bay pretty quickly on mass transit, and they're doing a lot of building in the area. I have a property that I put on the market 590. I thought it was going to top out about 610. 4 days after we put it on the market, we got 23 offers. And the highest and the offer that we ended up accepting was $700,000 in cash. And that wasn't even the highest offer we received.
That was just maybe with the best?
That was the best because of its terms.
Okay.
So, and again, most of the offers that we received were not contingent. So imagine a first-time home buyer going up against that type of environment. And I think across the board, we're seeing people kind of look down on FHA, which is a great introductory product to get into any market. VA almost doesn't have a chance unless you're going to a new build. And so it's very unfortunate because the barrier of entry for people is greatly affected. And there's no more people that are more affected than our underserved populations, which are Black and brown people. So when
this is in that conversation range again of if you I hate to say it, stay ready, don't have to get ready. But it's also that like, well, I don't really need a house. And you're like, you guys have to hear it's very reactive. A lot of times when I listen to Black or Latino people about an area or wanting to move, it's very reactive. It's never proactive. Oh man, I used to live over here, and it's like, how long does it take for you to get the click that, hey, you're not going to stay here unless you own in this area.
Yeah.
Even if you own, the property taxes might get you to move as well. But it's to me, it's always makes me nervous when people say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to wait it out." Wait out for what?
Yeah, I mean, Oakland is a testament to that. I had a partner who's a VP at one of the big banks say, I was on a call with him last week, and he said, "Shawneequa, you've been telling people to buy in East Oakland for 10 years." He goes, "I know it's been 10 years for you because I used to be standing next to you while you were doing homebuyer presentations, telling people buy in the East. And here are the trends that we're seeing because of the numbers from the month before. These are the numbers. The numbers don't lie. These are the numbers. This is the direction of the market." And most of those people end up getting priced out, unfortunately. The market does not wait for anybody. It's not waiting for, you to be woke. It's not waiting for a verdict to show up. It's not waiting for the city to get their act together. It's not waiting for reparations to come down the pipeline. A market is every large metro market in the country is moving at the speed of sound. And we have to again, prepare ourselves for that movement. And for many people, you're going to have to find a way. If right now you cannot get into this market as it exists, waiting, it probably is not going to be your best opportunity to get into the market later. But the only way that you can really find a way to let your weight work for you is if you find a way to increase your income. Because a lot of people that I'm seeing can't buy in this market because they just don't have the income. So you have to find a way to increase your capital, increase your capacity. Maybe that means that you're investing with other people instead of trying to be singular in your purchase strategy. So there are things that you need to do to prepare yourself now if you want to buy in a very high value market, or if you just want to make sure that you're staying with the competitiveness of any market that's appreciating, which is basically any market that we're seeing on the map these days, that is a major metro market. So we have to understand, we can have all these things that we think that the market should do, but the market doesn't give two shits about what we think. That's putting it very nicely. And we have to be prepared for the market as it's operating at that moment.
I can tell you, and I've told the audience multiple times, about 6 years ago, I had a friend who says, "Hey, buy this house." It was $133,000. And I was like, "Oh, it used to be a rental. I don't want to be in this thing. I got to take the carpet up." And we're just, he's like, "I'll partner with you. Like, get in this house." Literally, someone bought that house 3 years later. They sold it for 285. That same area now is 350 plus. And so, like, I tell people on this audience that I'm in Austin and I missed a 5-year flip. Like, everybody I know got a house at 190 and now they're selling for 375. And you're not going to get that again in another 5 years. It'll be high, but it won't be like a 5-year flip like it just was.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I mean, you know, Black and Latino people who are like, oh, girl, I got to move all the way out to Elgin and Manor, and I got to move way out here. And like 1 in 5 people in Flipperville are now Black. And I was like, but all your white counterparts moved out here 10 years ago when they got the house for 80. Now you're getting it for 280 and you're still complaining. Sorry. That's just, you know, like proactive, not reactive. You see Austin in the news. Like, I just made a count this year. I'm like, we've been in the news about 1,000 times, y'all. You don't think that's coming? You don't think that trickle's coming in? So,
oh no, it's already there.
Yeah.
If they're talking about it, it's already there.
Oh, there's a great article from 2016 I shared here on the audience. It's called Forbes List Boom Towns 2016. If anybody wants to go look up this article, every city they named in that thing is boomed. They've listed places in California, places in Texas, places in like Nevada, Chattanooga, Nashville, Tennessee. Like, every one of those cities. Now that I go look back, Chattanooga doubled past 5 years. Parts of Nashville, $1 million. Charlotte, North Carolina. I mean, you just can't even get there. Yeah. So, but yeah, a lot of y'all comments are very informative. I see you guys in here. They're just talking about property taxes. They're talking about stuff in here. Oh yeah, I believe it. They're talking about the VA loan. Somebody said now the VA loan goes to $750,000. Like, well, where are they?
They actually do not have a limit on a VA loan. Mm-hmm. You can buy up to $1 million. You can buy beyond $1 million.
So they go to New York.
Yeah, they've done that because they want people to use the VA loan, a high balance VA loan, in markets that are high valued. So they don't want their veterans to be priced out of the market. I mean, well, the terms on VA is something totally different, but they've accommodated a appreciating market for sure.
Are there any homes in California under 300,000?
Yeah.
What they look like?
Well, you know, I just sold a 4-plex in Stockton for $350.
What was wrong with it?
Nothing. It had a vacant unit and everything. I mean, there was nothing really wrong with it. You know, was it in the best neighborhood? No, but were the rents there? Yeah. But yeah, no, you could find markets where you can still buy properties for under $300K. I mean, like, you know, the Fresnos, the Bakersfields, they still have properties that are plentiful in that price point. There's certain parts in Southern California that we've seen, certain parts in like the Sacramento, certain parts like in the outlying areas of Sacramento. You can buy condos in townhomes, but single families, yeah. I mean, I remember telling people 3-4 years ago, go buy up stuff in Stockton. They're like, what's Stockton? And now Stockton got $600,000 properties.
The only reason I knew of Stockton is I have Asian friends here who are like, oh, my cousin out there's the Asian gangs. And I'm like, wait a minute, Asian gangs? What is y'all doing out in California? That's too much. And but again, you know, you're gonna have something in every area.
Well, we got gangs all over the place. I mean, we got gangs all over the place. I mean, I think people make up stuff about every city. And unfortunately, you know, it's a crapshoot. I mean, Oakland's off the hook right now in terms of its violence right now, but y'all
ain't calmed down. I thought y'all calmed down. When I was there, no. I wasn't. So here's the crazy part. When I went to, I was more afraid in San Fran than I was in Oakland, y'all. I was in Oakland walking around like, okay, this ain't too bad. It's a little rough in some of these parts, but it ain't too bad. But when I was in San Fran, I was like, oh, this place smells like pee. And then there's just homeless people everywhere. Like, I was like more concerned there than I was. And then I didn't even get to see Sausalito till after I left. And somebody told me about Sausalito. I'm like, oh, I got to go back and see that. Yeah, and it was like there's no homeless over there. And I was like, none?
Well, it's very expensive in Sausalito.
Do
You
they
know, it's one
move
of those
along
little
basically?
towns. Listen, if we roll up in there and start looking crazy, they roll us up out of there quick.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. I mean, that's
Um,
kind of like, I mean, what people don't understand is I just saw a video on Venice Beach being cleaned out. And I said,
mhm.
don't worry. Some of these areas that have money, they're gonna start just bringing a dump truck and that's what's gonna happen in Texas. They've already we got big money came into town and they're like, yeah, we need to go ahead and get this cleaned up. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I just think that, we have homeless people nearly everywhere in the state of California, and we give a lot of resources to people who are not operating at their best.
Mm-hmm.
So California is just one of these areas that has a surge in the unhoused population. Do we like it? No.
Well, it's the
I drove
weather.
through. Yeah, it's the weather. It's more accommodating for outdoor living.
Mm-hmm.
I've driven through recently San Francisco, and you get so engaged in what your GPS is sending you, and I looked up and I just was like dumbfounded at how bad the Tenderloin looked. I had not been there in so long because what I need to go to the Tenderloin for.
I don't know, girl. We don't know your business. You down there. That's what you do.
But I had to drive through there to get to another showing, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just like upset immediately because there was just a huge concentration of homeless people on the streets, and clearly people who were not getting resources to get beyond their present circumstances, and a lot of disabled people there, and a lot of people that look like me. Like I just couldn't believe how many people were in that immediate area,
Right.
and it made me get to my next location and just stop for a minute because I had to like go. Is this
Like
really our
what?
reality? Like,
Yeah.
if people wanted to really do something about the quality of life for people, that is a great concentration of people to start with. But
Well, it's not a. It's you'll always have poor people in your society, even though California is expensive. You'll always have poor people somewhere in the middle. We have resources, and we also have, honestly, mental health hospitals need to be opened
yeah,
back up. Right? Small cities can't handle that. There was a reason regional mental health hospitals existed, and I think honestly, I've said this. I hate to say it this way, but if you actually made it for profit instead of, the state's just going to take care of it. But if you actually made it, unfortunately, privatized and companies could make money, the streets would be cleaned up in a year because people
yeah,
would be
you're
very quick
absolutely right.
to defer. Okay, this person just needs housing. This person just needs housing. Fine.
Well,
This person actually needs long-term care.
yeah.
Right.
Gigi, I see your question. I'm gonna answer it in a minute. But to address what you're saying, you're absolutely right. I Mental health care is a huge issue, and there's an absence of it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I really agreed with our former HUD secretary, Ben Carson, was when we went to DC to advocate for Black homeownership, which we typically do every year.
Mm-hmm.
I do it twice a year. He came and addressed the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, of which I'm a member of, and I've been a member of all of my real estate career. And really quickly, for those of you who don't know, at one time we could not join the National Association of Realtors because we were Black. So we had to make our own organization. So now we are called Realtist as our designation. Now we can be, of course, join the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Realtors. So now we're Realtors and Realtist at the same time. Anyway, he came and addressed us, and his conversation was, listen, HUD is going to put money into these new areas where they're going to be called vision centers. And he said in those vision centers, like take, for example, you have a low income housing development. That low income housing would have a component where they'd have a vision center. So you can go there, you get your social security, your unemployment, your see your doctors, your mental health care. So you're not having to go all over the city to get all these resources. They're literally right there where you live. I personally thought that that was a great vision. However, did it come to pass? No.
Yeah.
Is it still necessary and a great opportunity to build in resources for people who need it? Absolutely. I think that that was exasperated for me. That the idea of mental health care was exasperated for me when I watched them this weekend and was like, man, the woes of the world, the woes of generational trauma really do affect people in a way that we cannot love people beyond. We can't love people out of that. And so we have to find ways to help them navigate those areas so that we can have more whole communities, whole households that are functioning at the way that they need to be functioning.
Well, you know what? Someone told me that really like opened my eyes on this. He said the prison systems have been getting this extra push to find halfway housing for the men they release. Because if you release somebody at 50 and 60 years old, or even 40, their parents have died. Their siblings may not take them in. So here, even in Austin, even at the centers they have here, you'll meet people who got here from New York, they got here from somewhere, and you ask them about their family, oh, they won't take me in, or I got out of prison, nobody's left. And so how do you give that person the appropriate attention and get them in housing? So even if it's temporary housing for a year, so that they can get back into society. So again, I realize the homeless issue is complex, but I've also watched several channels that are in California, and sometimes you can hear a person talk and you're like, wow, like I just want you to get just to like some therapy in there because you're so close and somehow you're here. And they're real people. It's several channels on it, very popular on YouTube, where people do actually reach out and help these people. But also sometimes things become a way of life as well. So, you know, I'm not one of those people like clean it all up, get it out of here. And people are like, oh, Austin's getting bad. And what's sad about it is I've been to other cities and I'm like, y'all, I went to LA. I was in the Uber, and the guy was like, no, honey, I'm taking you directly to the door. And I was like, okay. Like, I thought I was going to stop and get this sandwich. He's like, no, you're going to go straight to the door where you got to go. And Austin having 4 or 5 tents over here, or this one little tent area, 50 tents, people are like, it's so bad. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, y'all, you haven't been anywhere. You haven't seen it really out here. But yeah, that's a whole issue in itself. And unfortunately in our community, we see a lot of people that maybe have needed medication and they just did not get, the medication they needed, honestly, because we have a resistance to that in our community a little bit more than others when it comes to medicine.
Well, you know that they anticipate. Maybe 2 years ago, there was somebody that came into the city of Oakland from, what is that big entity, the international thing, people?
International. Say it again. They came to Oakland, and
they were with an international delegation. You know where all of the nations
UN
become. Yeah. Thank you. She was with the United Nations. She was doing research on homelessness around the country, around the world. She came to Oakland and toured some of the encampments that were out there. And she said when she was out there, this guy pulled up and said, you guys need to quit feeding these homeless people because they ain't going anywhere. And they, on and on and on and on. Right. And she had to walk up to his truck and say, sir, I'm here from the UN. I'm here to get an understanding of what's going on with the homeless population. He pulled back at that point, but no one knew that she was coming into the city. So the mayor couldn't intercept her or anything. It was great because she released a report. And what the report said is that Oakland has a horrible homeless situation. About 67% of the population is Black, of the homeless population is Black.
In Oakland.
And she said that the conditions of Oakland were worse than some third world countries that she had walked. So it is that bad. And it's gotten worse since COVID. Because now people are like, we're homeless. We want to sleep outside. We're not going to the homeless shelters. We might get sick.
And also they don't even... Some of it's also rules.
Yeah, they don't want to abide by rules.
They don't want to abide by rules.
People
And
want to be
so,
free. They want to live outside.
well, even I remember watching one of the videos, and the guy, he had 3 dogs, and they were like,
Yeah.
"Well, you got to get rid of the dogs," and he was like, "Oh no, I'll just stay outside then." And
Yeah.
he had housing, like literally like housing, like a room, like an actual apartment. Like the county did everything for they needed for him, out there in the bay. And he was like, "Oh, I can't take my dogs." Okay. And so some of it is like, I want people to have the American spirit of I can make free to make my own decisions. But you should also be free to have the consequences, right? And
Mhm.
so I saw where they cleaned up Eno Park, or I'm sorry I'm messing up the names of California, but it was a park y'all have out there, and they went and said we're gonna clean that up too, and Venice Beach at the same time, and y'all got to go. And so public parks, no, I think those should be reserved for families and children. We got to find somewhere in the middle on this. And I know your state is one of the biggest states, with like half the homeless population in America there, and another big
Mhm.
portion in New York. So,
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it as we see property values go up, as we see the underserved populations not participating in the in a fair living wage.
mhm.
This is kind of our reality, and so we have to figure out we. And I say that we all have a part in this, because let me tell you, it was just last week that I bought a mattress for a homeless person who, I got, there was a call put out on social media. This homeless person was without a tent and a mattress, and they're literally living outside. And it's a woman. I said, "Tell me what I got to do," because I understand I sell in the city. That doesn't mean I get to sell in the city, and I don't get to
Mhm.
put back into the city.
Mhm.
And so, there's things that I do, and that I don't really too much talk about, but there's things that I feel like I'm responsible for helping, because there's times I know when my job is not um, accommodating to the entire population of the city of Oakland or anywhere in the Bay Area. So I have to make sure that I'm doing my part too, and I think that we all have a part to play in this. And on top of holding our politicians accountable, making sure that there's resources for people to transition in and out of their present circumstances. So I do think that there's a greater conversation in all of
Yeah.
this that we all need to make sure that we're responsible for having and continuing to have, and don't just do it on Facebook. Make sure you do it in public.
Listen. Okay.
I mean, I was on the line with 3 city council people
Mhm.
last week with the Black real estate agents in Oakland, and they'll tell you I gave them hell.
And even the word living wage, and that's how, like, I love that. I'm very Texas, I'm very North Carolina, I'm very like right to work state, right to your how much you want to pay people, all that good stuff. um I tell people in the trench towards automation, we're unlike China's like, here, this is you're gonna do this study, and you're gonna fulfill this jobs we need in our society. And in America, it's like, hey, hey, listen, there's jobs everywhere, but you choose what you want to do. We, even as I talk about automation on this channel, I'm like, there are going to be companies, and I've been to several conferences where they're like, you're just going to have to train people. You're going to literally have to find 19 to 30-year-old people and train them at the level you want them to be at your company.
Mhm.
And so that isn't going to be like getting all these certifications and all this training from that company. It'll get you past the living wage. Like, you're going to get tradesman level work. Uh, and so the argument for living wage is like, we can move it up and down all we want. The inflation and the cost of housing will just go up. So really,
Yeah.
the key here in our society is getting more people to those trades, because you have 31 million people who are 65 plus years old. They want to retire.
Mhm.
The average plumber, is what? Old. The average welder, is old. The average roofer is like the older guy who's at the site on time, making sure the younger people show up. And so a lot of it is getting people into qualified and skilled jobs. A lot of that will take that away. I mean, there's a story here in Austin where the woman was 4 kids, Black lady, and this tech company gave her a shot. And so she was able to get a 70K job because,
Yeah.
one, they gave her a shot, and two, she had just enough certificates that she got off the internet to get in there. And
Yeah.
that changed the trajectory of her life, right?
Mhm.
So there's many ways we can go with this, but I see y'all have lots of good comments, but we're gonna respect our time. We have about a good like 15 minutes. If I can borrow a little bit more of your time, and we'll wrap some of this up. And
so I want to answer Gigi's question if I can.
Yeah, we read it and then we answer it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Erica and Shawneequa, for this information. I'm in Texas thinking about buying a fourplex in California. What are your thoughts, Mrs. Badger? Miss Badger, excuse me.
I'm going to be very honest with you. Very honest, because that's kind of the only way I know how to shoot it from. If I am in Texas, I personally would keep my money in Texas. Mm-hmm. Until you have the ability to have a little bit of like a little F off money, which means is you have money in the pocket, you have reserves to come in and play in California. I would stay in a place that doesn't have tenant protection if you want to start investing in multi-units. You can build and then start playing in that kind of a space if you want to. But I would say scale from there. So I would say put your money in other markets and then buy into the state of California. I just think that makes better sense from an investment strategy. Mm-hmm. I know that you probably didn't expect me to say that, but that's the reality. I would not recommend you take on a big expense of buying in California and not be able to really see the benefits of cash flow because of tenant protection.
Mm-hmm. I think you saw, I don't know if you saw the lady that the tenants won the case and they took her unit away. Did you see that out there? Basically, she kept getting all these fines. African lady. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what's your thoughts on that? I'm like, not give her the whole property now. Hold on. Can she pay some more fines? Or like,
well, she was a slumlord. She was a slumlord.
The places looked amazing to me. So I didn't know. I mean, there may have been pictures that I didn't see.
Yeah. So she positioned some statements in some publications to make herself look good, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is there had been a lengthy battle between her tenants and the city of getting and making sure that her properties were up to code and within the right standards of habitability and safety for her tenants. Mm-hmm. She was not complying. And because she wasn't complying, the city was like, we're sick of your shit. So we're going to take your stuff under receivership. And she had to take that L. So if you saw how she positioned herself, and I knew that this was her that put these pieces out there, is she put it in Black media because she wanted to get the Black voice behind her. Mm-hmm. But if you look in a lot of the local news reports that had been about her, they literally named her as the worst landlord in all of San Francisco. So she violated a lot of rules. Mm-hmm. She would go in and tow her tenants' cars. She would go with security and put tenants out. She was absolutely horrible. And I personally am not going to give any slack to anybody, regardless of what race, color, or otherwise they are, if they're doing it at the expense of working families. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she needed to have her stuff taken. She didn't have no business being a landlord. She needed to have her stuff taken. I hope it was a hard lesson that she learned. It even got to a point where she stiffed the bill on her lawyers.
I think so.
And they stopped representing her. She was absolutely irresponsible in everything that she did.
I almost feel like she had money invested from somewhere else, right? And we may have a cultural. And she could agree. I don't know how long she's been in America, but it seemed like it was a cultural thing, right? Because in Philadelphia, they had an Indian man who locked all his tenants out and rode out and went on vacation. And they were like, sir, no. We don't do that here. We don't do that in America. And again, he played the, I just, culturally, you don't pay, you get out. And so, and you already know the demographics of Philadelphia. So we don't have to play half the city's Black. We already know. And so I think, it's unfortunate, but it's like, how do we, taking the property and doing what? Does it become condos? Like, that's the part I got confused on. I was like, okay, we're taking it. What are we going to do with this?
when the city when it goes into receivership, the city goes and they'll make the proper repairs on it to bring it back to living standards. And then basically they become the property manager. And then they appoint it as a receivership to somebody to maintain that. So it's basically the city's intermediary between the asset itself and the city. So, and sometimes they use real estate agents. Most of the time they use real estate agents to do this.
Oh, she should have just sold and let that go then.
She should have absolutely just sold her interest, and she did not. She was just silly. She was just absolutely off the chain. When I started doing my research on her, I was like, I'm glad that they took all her properties.
She's doing too much.
It's just doing absolutely too much. It was absolutely sickening. She was trying to circumvent around the Ellis Act. And she was putting her sister's name on some of the deeds, even though she wasn't living there. She had burned bridges with absolutely everyone, including her own legal counsel. So with that being the case, that means that she just literally had no respect for anybody. And she just thought she was going to do whatever she wanted. The city was like, you know what? I'm sick of you.
About to show you.
Hell, being up in here. And, no. Bye.
Okay. So you're an agent. And one of the things that scared me as a person who looking to buy not brand new construction in here, but regular construction, regular homes, resale. There was a couple who paid $500,000. Was it like it was like $500,000 plus the owner had $30,000 in back tax liens, and they paid, and old boy didn't move out the house, and then it became like they're squatters, so they have rights, and they stayed there for a whole year till the media start just every day showing him, and then finally him and his family bounced. What's up, California? What's up? Like, how is that possible that I buy a home and the guy takes my cash, my wire from the title company, and then they don't leave?
Well, that agent showed his face in a group that I moderate, and he worked both sides of the deal.
Oh,
so there's some.
Can he get taken to?
I mean, he stayed close to the buyers to make sure that they, that they knew that they were being supported. But at the end of the day, we have a walkthrough that should happen before close of escrow. Your walkthrough should determine whether or not, you have left the property in a way that the new buyer, the new owners can take possession of. And he did not do that. And see, with me, I come do a walkthrough and the house not right. I'm like, hold escrow.
They were living there. I mean,
yeah,
I'm like,
living there.
I'm like, I need vacant upon sale. What's up?
So we're doing walkthroughs like anywhere from 3 to 5 to 3 to 2 to 1 day before the close of escrow.
I need a U-Haul truck outside.
Yeah, so I don't see no boxes. I'm literally like, hold escrow. We're not closing on anything. I'm holding all your net proceeds hostage until you do exactly what I want you to do per the contract. So it's unfortunate that was the position that owner took. I could see, and the agent, he was just ridiculous. Like he was like,
was he new?
No, he was like he likely did not do what he was supposed to do by serving both sides from a fiduciary agency perspective.
He was greedy. That's greedy.
And that's how they can get very complicated when you work with both sides.
Well, even if you work both sides, should he told old boy it's time to get out? Sir, you have to leave for this contract to be valid.
Well, he knows this, right? Yeah, no, he knows this. All of them knew that he should have been gone by a certain day. But the listing agent did not hold the buyer's agent in him should have held the escrow. Should have been like, we're not closing escrow until the seller vacates his property. Yeah, that's how you protect your buyers. There's ways to protect buyers. It's written in the purchase contract.
Right.
But he failed to do that. And so, fast forward to, up until I think a couple of weeks ago when they finally got possession of the house.
That's because news crews was every day. They was like, "Oh my
They were
God."
applying pressure for sure. But unfortunately, you don't leave. You're not gonna get, you're not gonna get your proceeds. Everybody wants to get that wire.
But that's when they told me he got that wire. I said, if you got $500,000, sir, go live your life. Go be somewhere.
Yeah, he tried to use this whole COVID situation as, the reason why he didn't want to move or leave or whatever the case. He was just, being an asshole. But at the end of the day, there's ways that we can protect our clients for sure. And, agents who have the interest of their clients at heart will absolutely do this in a way that it will not compromise their ability to take possession of a house. So such is life. But yeah, it was unfortunate that happened. That does not happen very often. We do rent backs all the time in our industry. And we have ways of protecting our sellers and our buyers. Nobody wants to have to get dragged through the court behind this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not in our interest. Yeah, it is not in our interest. We absolutely do everything in our power to stay away from attorneys and courts because it takes away from our ability to continue to do business in our world. So we don't, anybody that's out there just randomly doing business that doesn't serve the public, it's unfortunate that that's the position that they take, but that's most of us who are professional. Ain't trying to deal with none of that stuff. So
I love it. Listen, thank you for coming on. Give us a wrap up. Because people in the chat say, well, why do people want to move to California? Give us your nice realtor, why you should move to California. What do we have out here in the Bay? Afrotech was a blast, by the way, but I know they ain't gonna have it for a minute.
Well, the one thing that I can honestly say about California is we typically do not have the same economic challenges as most markets.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't. If you're participating on the scale, on a scale that most people are that are able to survive, then it is a great place to live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always say that we can get to the beach, to the snow, and wine country, and all points in between within a 4-hour span. Right. Geographically, we're in a really great place. We're around some of the most of the wealthiest people on the planet come to the Silicon Valley to make their money. And let me tell you, when COVID hit, I really felt like I was a little bit at peace because I said, hey, I'm around some of the greatest minds in the world in Silicon Valley. So I knew that there was going to be a way for them to help us navigate through this, where it didn't decimate our economy. Right. I'm telling you, I had one of the best real estate careers of my life last year, and that was during the pandemic. So what I can say is, we have great schools, we have great weather, we have, you may not get the sprawl that you can in some areas, but you absolutely can balance that with six-figure depreciation. One of my clients just got broke off $600,000 for their net proceeds, so that's not a horrible reason to be
She's like,
in California.
So sad.
And I just gave I'm just heartbroken. But and I just gave my first time home buyers. Yeah, I just gave my first time home buyers that bought in the city of Oakland last year the news that they've made $100,000 in appreciation in a year. So, there are definitely upsides to being able to being in California for sure. Mm-hmm. Just like there's upsides to being anywhere, some of it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay.
For sure.
But, it is definitely a great place to live. If it suits your value system, if it's your economic position, then this is going to be the place for you to definitely put your stake in the ground.
Okay, sorry, I did say one. That was the last question, but this is the last one, and then we're gonna let you be free because you got things to do.
Well, I listen. This is what I've been looking at the entire time that we've been here. Is lunch.
I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry, y'all. They say great show, great information. I just want to ask your opinion on the 40, 50-year mortgage thing for a primary residence. What's your thoughts on that? I think that's crazy, but go ahead.
We don't see 30-year fix is pretty much the move, right?
Mm-hmm.
30-year fix is pretty much the standard for having a mortgage. If you think about it, 30 years is pretty much your working years.
Mm-hmm.
Anything outside of a 40, 50, you're really setting yourself up to be in debt into your retirement years. Think about your lifespan.
Yeah.
Do you really want to be paying on a mortgage in your 60s, 70s, and 80s? It's just not. It's just not reasonable. Yes, is your mortgage payment going to make better sense? Yeah, but
that interest on the back end.
Yeah, you're paying 10, 20 years more in interest, and that's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're giving away to the bank and many times. So I would say, stick to a plan that is very traditional, 30-year fix. If you want to pay off your mortgage quicker than that, the 15-year fixes are out there.
Yep.
There are still people doing option arms, which is a 5-in-1, which we saw a lot right before the foreclosure crisis. But if you are very savvy in how you manage your money, you can absolutely navigate in getting into the market and use that as an entry-level product to do so. So, there's ways that we can leverage mortgage products for sure. We just have to know in our wheelhouse, in our financial plan, what's going to be the best mortgage product for you to use.
Okay, and where can they find you on the internet?
Everywhere. So hey, listen, there's not I don't think that there's another Shawneequa Badger out there. So
I don't think so.
Literally type my name into the
literally
and be really easy. I'm on all social media sites. Feel free to find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and a little bit on YouTube, not too much. Just a little bit on
a little dabble.
And I like to run my mouth on Clubhouse too. I moderate.
Oh Lord.
Times during the week. But because I think people need to understand real estate from our perspective, because many people see it from looking at Zillow or Redfin. And that's not necessarily consistent with being boots on the ground. I always say that Redfin, Julia, and Zillow cannot out algorithm Shawneequa Badger.
Hey,
they can try, but it's not going to happen. So feel free to find me on social media. Follow me. You're more than welcome to DM me if you like. I actually do respond to my DMs.
Girl, don't tell people that.
Don't slide in. Listen, don't slide in them. You can ask.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming on. Everybody saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And they're like, what's your Clubhouse? Then I hit you up for that already. You guys.
It's just my first name. You can type in Shawneequa Badger. And I'm telling you, I'm super easy to find, even on Clubhouse.
All right. Well, listen, enjoy your lunch. So thank you for your bar and your time today. And everybody, hey, hit the like button on your way out. Thank you.